The Fantastic Four is a comic book series created by Marvel that centers around basically a family of superheroes. You have Mr. Fantastic, or Reed Richards, who has the powers of being a stretchy person, basically. The Invisible Woman, or Sue Storm, who can turn invisible or create force fields and has a little bit of a relationship with Mr. Fantastic. The Human Torch, or Johnny Storm, who is the brother of Sue Storm, hence the last name Storm. Duh. And he has the power of turning on fire and flying around and shooting fireballs, and it's pretty awesome. Like, think about it. Of all the Fantastic Four members, you probably would want to be the Human Torch. I mean, that's at least what I think. Okay, moving on. And finally, the Thing, or Ben Grimm, who turns into a scary rock monster person who can destroy a lot of stuff because he's pretty strong. They get their powers either from space or from another dimension. It really just depends on the comic you read or the movie you watched. Now, when turning comic books into movies was still pretty cool, they tried to make a Fantastic Four movie in the 1990s, and it was horrible. It was so bad that it wasn't even planned on being released, but somehow it was. So when that didn't work out, the movie rights of the Fantastic Four went to 20th Century Fox, and in 2005, they tried to make another Fantastic Four movie. It's basically just so Marvel couldn't get the rights back because they sold Spider-Man to Sony and the X-Men and the Fantastic Four to 20th Century Fox. This movie had Joel Gruff as Mr. Fantastic, Jessica Alba as the Invisible Woman, Michael Chiklis as the Thing in a weird rubber rock suit thing, and believe it or not, Chris Evans as the Human Torch. That's right, before he was Captain America in the MCU, he was the Human Torch in the Fantastic Four movie. And guess what, guys? They failed again. It was so laughably atrocious, and it was panned critically by almost everyone. Yet, even with those reviews, they made a sequel, probably just because of box office or whatever. And guess what? People hated that one too. People said that they almost hated it as much as the first Fantastic Four movie. I mean, yeah, they made money, but since virtually no one liked them, they failed. And if people said they did like them, it was probably just because they loved making fun of how bad they were. So that series stopped, but lo and behold, when comic book movies were becoming extremely awesome again in the MCU or the Dark Knight trilogy, we got the news that 20th Century Fox would be rebooting the Fantastic Four with the director of the found footage film Chronicle, Josh Trank, which in a way kind of feels like the Fantastic Four. I mean, Chronicle featured on teens who found powers and, were kind of struggling with it, and in a way that kind of resembles the Fantastic Four, so I can understand where they're coming from. And they hired Miles Teller to play Mr. Fantastic, Kate Mara to play the Invisible Woman, Michael B. Jordan to play the Human Torch, Jamie Bell to be the Thing, and Toby Kebbell to play Doctor Doom, the overall villain of the Fantastic Four series. And a lot of people didn't really like the casting because they felt like it was, maybe too young of people to play them, and a lot of people were kind of racist to Michael B. Jordan when he was announced as the Human Torch. But whatever, that's the internet, it's gonna happen. But when the trailer started out, people were actually starting to look forward to this movie a little bit more. Sure, they were skeptical, but hey, the trailers looked pretty cool. But then a bunch of drama started to come out like weeks before the movie was released. Like the studio meddling behind the scenes and behind the director's back, or the director being a pain to work with on the set. Like, no one really knows who caused the disaster of this movie. Was it the studio or was it the director? No one really knows. Even news of Miles Teller and Josh Trank almost getting into a fist fight on the set have come out, so it came to no surprise that this movie was panned by critics and fans. And the cherry on top of this superhero disaster was when it bombed at the box office and lost to Rogue Nation on its opening weekend. But even with all this bad buzz surrounding this movie, Fox still wants to continue the series. Why? I have no idea. So, unfortunately, the future of Fantastic Four looks really bleak. Maybe 20th Century Fox can correct the many, many mistakes they've made with this series, or better yet, sell the rights of the characters back to Marvel so they can be in the MCU and most likely be awesome again. But for now, we're stuck with this train wreck abomination. Fan-freaking-tastic.